Good afternoon, and thank you for attending today. My name is Juanita Riley. I'm the contract specialist for the Texas Lottery Commission. This is the pre-proposal conference for the Document Management Service RFP number 362-2022-002. On the panel today, we have Angela Skyby-Sagarba. She's our Contracts and Facilities Manager. Eric Williams, our Hub Coordinator. Lee Gary, she's our Senior Contracts Attorney, and Joan Codal, our Information Technology Manager. If you've not already done so, please scan the QR code with a mobile device to sign in. A copy of the sign-in sheet will be posted on the ESBD, the Electronic States Business Daily, and the Texas Lottery's website at the end of today's meeting. This is for sharing of information between prime vendors and subcontractors. This conference is being recorded. If you have any questions, please submit your questions in the Q&A feature throughout the conference, and we will answer in order received during the question and answer session at the end of each part. We will review the recording after the conference and reinstate the questions and answers in the Q&A document, which will be released in accordance with the scheduled events. We'll give our best response to your questions today. However, any questions we cannot answer today will be answered in writing and will be included in the Q&A document. Please note the written Q&A document is our final answer. Following this conference, if you think of additional questions, you have an opportunity to submit these in writing. These are your opportunities to ask questions, and we encourage you to do so regarding the requirements of the RFP. If you're unsure of language written in the RFP or need further clarification, this is your chance to receive the information you need. After proposals are received, it is in the Texas Lottery's time to ask questions and/or seek clarification if needed. Please note that any oral communication that would be altered or amended in the RFP as written is not binding. Any and all changes or modification to the RFP will be made in writing and posted on the ESBD and the Texas Lottery's website. You're encouraged to check these websites throughout this process and once more before submitting a proposal. Please note that there may be several RFPs posted on the TLC's website at one time, so be sure that you're viewing the correct RFP for updates. This RFP is open to any and all vendors who perform the services. To submit a proposal, you do not have to be registered on the CMBL, the Centralized Master Bidders List, be Hub certified, nor is there any approved vendor list. We will now briefly review the RFP by parts. While we may discuss only certain sections or provisions of the RFP during this conference, all sections and provisions of the RFP are important, and you should read and understand the entire RFP before submitting your proposal. You will have an opportunity after each part to seek general questions. We will begin with Part 1, General Information. Section 1.4, Schedule Events. This section includes critical dates for this procurement. If there are any changes to these dates up to the deadline for proposal, an amendment will be posted on the ESBD and the Texas Lottery's website. In Section 1.7, because we are a state agency, proposals are subject to the Public Information Act, also known as the Open Records Act. During the procurement process, we will not release any information contained in your proposal. However, after a contract is awarded, your entire proposal is subject to this act and is considered public information. If there's any information in your proposal that is confidential and exempt from disclosure under the Texas Public Information Act, you must mark it as confidential. Examples of confidential information may be financial information or information that you consider trade secret or proprietary. It is important that you mark every applicable page and/or section that you consider confidential, and if possible, mark which exceptions of the Texas Public Information Act it falls under. The Public Information Act is located under the Texas Government Code Chapter 552. On the Office of the Attorney General's website is the Public Information Handbook, which lists all the exceptions. If you have information that you consider confidential, please respond to Section 1.7 and list the information. Include a brief commentary or justification in addition to marking individual section and/or pages. Angela, are there any questions for Part 1?
Hi, Juanita. I do not see any new questions at this time. I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. Part 2, Proposal Process. As stated in Section 2.1, I'm the sole point of contact for the RFP. All questions should be directed to me, including any hub questions. Section 2.4, questions shall be submitted via email by the deadline and the schedule of events. Responses will be posted on the TLC and the ESBD website. Section 2.5, proposals shall be submitted in the format prescribed in this section. Proposers have the option to submit proposals either hard copy or electronically. If you submit a hard copy under Section 2.5.1, hand or overnight delivery submission, you need to submit one signed original and 3 copies. The original proposal should be clearly marked as original and shall be bound in a 3-ring binder. The hub subcontracting plan should also consist of one signed original and 2 copies. The signed original cost proposal should be contained in a separate sealed envelope as an attachment. If you submit electronic copy under Section 2.5.2, electronic delivery submission, electronic responses shall be sent via email to procurement@lottery.state.tx.us. The subject line on the email shall contain the RFP name and number along with the proposer name. Please submit one signed original proposal, one signed original hub subcontracting plan, and one signed original cost proposal in separate PDFs. Each PDF file attachment shall be clearly named. Be sure that your proposal contains responses to all sections and parts of the RFP, and be sure your proposal numbering corresponds with that of the RFP. You may provide a blanket acknowledgement and acceptance for parts 1, 2, and 3 unless a section requires a specific detailed answer. Parts 4 and 6 require a section-by-section response. That means for 4.1, we're looking for a 4.1 a year response that corresponds to the RFP. For Part 5, for hand or overnight delivery, complete and submit one signed original and 2 copies of the HSP. This can be a separate binder or folder. For electronic delivery, submit one signed original. For hand or overnight delivery, the cost proposal should be separately sealed attached to the proposal containing one signed original. As for electronic delivery, please submit one signed original. If proposers feel a section does not provide a detailed response, then it's acceptable to state that you agree and will comply. Section 2.5.6, the proposer's commitment, Attachment A, and the background information certification, Attachment D1, must be signed by an officer or agent of proposer with the authority to contractually bind the proposer, and the original attachment must be included in the original proposal. Section 2.5.9. In addition to the printed proposal, you're required to submit an electronic copy on a USB drive and a searchable PDF file of the text portion of your proposal only. Do not include cost. Section 2.5.10. Please note copyright proposals are unacceptable and may be rejected. Section 2.6 covers the format and contents of which your proposal must be organized, which includes the letter of transmittal, executive summary, either a blank acknowledgement of Part 1, 2, and 3, or a section-by-section response to 1, 2, and 3. Section-by-section response for Parts 4 and 6. Sealed cost proposal attached to the original proposal only if submitting a printed version, or one separate PDF if submitted electronically. Attachment A, proposer's commitment, and Attachment D1, background information certification. Section 2.7, letter of transmittal must state that the proposal is valid for 180 days. Also include an overview of why your company is most qualified, and include a statement accepting the terms and conditions in Part 3 and/or any exceptions to such. Section 2.8, executive summary, should be a full and concise summary and not exceed 5 pages. Section 2.10, the cost proposal must be in a format included in Attachment H in a separate sealed envelope as an attachment to the original proposal. We only need the signed original. Disclosures of costs in the body of the written proposal is cost for disqualification. The sealed envelope should only contain the cost proposal. Do not include any marketing materials or other information in your sealed cost proposal. The sealed cost proposal is not open until after the proposal is scored on its technical merit. Therefore, any additional materials that are included in the sealed envelope will not be evaluated. Section 211, proposers may submit only one proposal and one cost proposal. Section 212, any RFP changes, modification, or cancellation will be posted on the TLC and the ESBD website. Section 215, proposal evaluation. The scoring matrix is attachment G and will be used for evaluation of proposals and responses to this RFP. Please note that there are two pass-fail categories, the HSP analysis and the financial analysis. Your proposal essentially goes through 4 phases once it's submitted. Phase 1 is the initial assessment of compliance and completeness. Phase 2 is the review for financial analysis and HSP. Phase 3, it's reviewed and evaluated for its technical merit. And phase 4 is the cost proposal is open and reviewed. If at any time your proposal is disqualified, you will receive a notice stating such. Are there any questions on part 2?
Hi, Juanita. Yes, there are. So the question is there any specific format for submitting a proposer's cost proposal? And the response is yes, you must submit your cost proposal in the format that is in attachment H of the RFP. So the format is laid out there and you need to essentially fill that in, and that is your cost proposal. There was also a reference to 2.9, but not a question. Juanita didn't mention every section in the RFP here, but so she passed over 2.9 because it is a section that doesn't necessarily need a overview here. So it still counts, but unless there's a specific question there, let me see. No, I don't see a specific question. So if anybody has a specific question on 2.9, please enter that and we'll get to that in the next phase. So Juanita, that is it for now.
All right, thank you. Part 3, the contractual terms and condition. This part describes the terms and conditions which apply to the procurement process and which will become part of the contract executed pursuant to this RFP. Please read over this entire RFP document to ensure that you fully understand and will comply with all provisions. Any exceptions to the RFP should be clearly stated in the letter transmittal, providing specific and detailed reasons for each exception, along with suggestive alternative language. The contract resulting from the RFP will incorporate the RFP, any amendments, the questions and responses, the contractor's proposal, and cost proposal. Please note a performance bond is required under RFP section 3.36 and is required under the State Lottery Act. Therefore, we cannot accept alternatives. Under section 3.57.1, the contractor will be required to take the Texas Lottery's cybersecurity training program and sign the information security agreement. In addition, section 3.57.2, cloud computing, and section 3.57.3, data protection, are recently new laws that have passed. Angela, are there any questions on part 3?
There are no new questions.
Okay. Part 4, required information. Section 4.1 through 4.4. Although these sections seem brief in the RFP, these sections require proposers to gather, compile, and submit a great deal of detailed documentation. Please read these sections in depth and provide all the information in your section-by-section response. So for 4.1 in the RFP, we want to see a 4.1 in your proposal. Section 4.5, conflict of interest. This section, you're asked to disclose any actual, potential, and/or perceived conflict of interest. Please review this section and make any disclosures. Section 4.6, financial soundness. Texas Lottery Commission does a thorough financial analysis of all proposals. Please provide the information requested under this section. If you feel this information is confidential, please mark it as such. This is a pass-fail category on the scoring matrix, and it's critical that you provide the requested information. Section 4.7, background investigation. TLC reserves the rights to conduct an in-depth background investigation on the parent successful proposer. Section 4.7.2. A background investigation may be conducted on a contractually defined vendor principles, meaning those who will be directly involved in selling or leasing the goods or performing the services subject to this RFP or resulting in a contract. This includes partners, shareholders, officers, directors who are directly involved. Section 4.73. Background investigation may be conducted on vendor employees who meet one or more of the criteria under this section. This contract requires a background investigation of employees on site at the Texas Lottery Commission. Background investigation will include fingerprinting. The apparent successful proposer may require to complete all forms, including Attachment E, E1, E2, E3, and E4 of the RFP by the prescribed time after the written announcement of the apparent successful proposer by the Texas Lottery. If you feel that the information you're providing in Attachment E is confidential, please mark it as such. As mentioned before, we ask that all proposers complete and submit Attachment D1 with its proposal. This is a certification that your company would not be denied a sales agent license under Texas Government Code 466.155, which is Attachment D in the RFP. Section 4.8, Disclosure of Interest Parties. If requested, the successful proposer will be required to fill out a 1295 form from the Texas Ethics Commission. This is for contracts over $1 million and if you're not publicly traded company. Angela, are there any questions on Part 4?
There are no new questions at this time, Juanita.
Thank you. At this time, I'll turn it over to Eric Williams, who will go over Part 5.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Williams. I'm the Hub Coordinator for the Texas Lottery Commission. I'll be covering a very crucial element of your proposal, the Hub Subcontracting Plan, or HSP. If you're not the individual responsible for preparing the HSP, please pass this information to them and recommend they watch the video of this proposal conference, which will be posted on the agency website. The Hub Subcontracting Plan is used to identify both Hub and non-Hub subcontractors that will be utilized under the awarded contract. All proposers, Hub or non-Hub, submitting a response to this RFP are required to submit an HSP. No one is exempt. As Juanita previously mentioned, the HSP is a pass-fail element of this RFP. No evaluation points are given for the HSP. All proposers must submit an HSP with their proposal, regardless of their subcontracting intentions. Any proposal received not including an HSP will be rejected, and the technical portion will not be evaluated. So it's important to submit a completed HSP with your proposal. Also, during the reviewing process, if it is determined that your submitted HSP has failed, your proposal will be disqualified and will not be evaluated. The HSP process is governed by rules established by the Comptroller of Public Accounts. Per Section 5.1 of the RFP, you are responsible for reviewing this rule. The definition of a subcontractor is very broad and applies to any third-party vendor used to fulfill a portion of the contract. Our definition of a subcontractor is a person who contracts with a successful proposer to work, to supply commodities, or contribute toward completing work for the Texas Lottery. In other words, if the successful proposer who is awarded this contract is paying anyone who is not an employee to provide goods and/or services, they are very likely subcontracting under this definition. These individuals will receive a 1099, unlike your employees who receive W-2s. A proposer who indicates that their company will not be subcontracting any portion of the contract will be fulfilling the entire contract with their own resources, including its own equipment, supplies, materials, and/or employees, will be self-performing. Keep in mind that a pre-existing subcontracting relationship is considered subcontracting, in which case you cannot claim self-performance. A pre-existing subcontracting relationship is a business affiliation your company has with a third-party vendor who is currently supplying your company with goods and their services and will continue to supply those goods and their services to assist you in the performance of this contract. If you determine that your company is capable of fulfilling the entire contract with your own equipment, supplies, materials, and/or employees, please check the appropriate box in section 2, which is the respondent subcontracting intentions of the HSP form. Complete section 3, which is the self-performing justification, by providing a thorough explanation of how your company will perform the entire contract with its own employees, supplies, materials, and/or equipment as it relates to Part 6 of the RFP, which is the scope of services. Complete section 4 of the HSP form, the affirmation, prior to submitting your HSP with your proposal. If you're not self-performing, you will need to proceed with the good faith effort methods of the HSP. We have identified potential subcontracting opportunities in section 5.5.1 of the RFP. These areas may or may not be subcontracted depending on the proposer's existing resources, employees, and business model. You're not limited to the list in the RFP. However, if you intend to subcontract any portion of the contract and is not listed, you are responsible for identifying it in your HSP submission. We have included in the RFP a list of hub vendors by CMBL class and commodity description to assist you in finding potential hub vendors. The Lottery Commission does not endorse, recommend, or attest to the capabilities of any company or individual listed within the RFP or on the CMBL Hub Search Directory. The good faith effort methods are for those proposers who intend to subcontract any portion of the contract. The goal of this good faith effort is to actively involve hubs in the Texas procurement process and ensure they receive a fair share of state business. Please check the appropriate boxes in section 2, again, which is the respondent's subcontracting intentions of the HSP form, and perform one of the 3 good faith effort methods. The optional checklist will assist you in determining which of the 3 methods you should use. Good faith method A has 2 options. Method A, option 1. This option is for the proposer who will use only Texas certified hubs for all subcontracting opportunities listed in section 2B of the respondent subcontracting intentions on the HSP form. If you use this method, please verify online that the hub vendor is still an active hub listed on the CMBL. Method A, option 2, which is meeting the specified hub contract goal. This option is for the proposer who will use a combination of non-hubs and Texas certified hubs. However, to meet the specified hub contract goal of 21.1%, the proposer can only count those hubs with which you have contracted with for 5 years or less. If you are going to subcontract and cannot claim method A1 or A2, then you must submit your HSP using method B, which is the good faith effort outreach method. And this is done by notifying at least 3 Texas certified hubs per subcontracting opportunity, providing those hubs with at least 7 working days to respond. And this is excluding the day the solicitation was mailed, faxed, or emailed to the hub vendors, weekends, holidays, and any other day that our executive director has closed the agency. Also, providing the scope of work for the hubs to determine whether they are interested in participating. Also, providing a location where the specifications are located, and this can be done via a link to the ESBD or a physical address where they can stop by and view that information regarding insurance and bonding requirements as well, if applicable. Also, in addition to notifying the 3 hub vendors, you are required to notify 2 minority women trade organizations, and/or business development centers providing the same information above as well as the same time frame to respond. A mentor may be utilized using the mentor protege program, the agreement for the subcontracting if the protege is able to provide services. The mentor protege relationship may be utilized in lieu of additional solicitation of hubs. Proposals using this method must perform outreach, even if the areas where a proposal has a pre-existing or exclusive subcontracting relationship that would be used in the performance of this contract. Our evaluation process for proposals received on or before the deadline for proposals is to review and evaluate the HSP and all supporting documentation to determine if the HSP has passed or failed. During our review, we may request clarification of information in your submitted HSP. Again, there are no evaluation points assigned to the HSP. It is strictly a pass or fail element. If it is determined that your HSP has failed, the technical portion of your proposal will not be evaluated. Following the awarded contract, any proposed changes to the HSP must be submitted for review and approval by the agency. A written change approval form will be provided by the Lottery Commission. Subcontracting without prior authorization is a breach of contract. Monthly subcontracting expenditure reports are required as a condition of payment. Also, the successful proposer must provide written notice to each subcontractor, informing them of their selection. A copy of this notice must be provided to the Lottery Commission no later than 10 working days after the contract has been awarded, as stated in section 5.6.1 of the RFP. The notice must specify at a minimum the contracting agency's name and its point of contact for the contract award number, the subcontracting opportunity to be performed, the approximate dollar value of the subcontracting opportunity, and the expected percentage of the total contract that the subcontracting opportunity represents. To assist you with the HSP, the Lottery Commission provides the following resources and assistance. All vendors are strongly encouraged to take advantage of all the resources. This pre-proposal conference video will be posted on the agency website. A Hsp Quick Checklist is included in the RFP. Proposals have the opportunity to submit written HSP questions up until the date of your proposal submission. However, we suggest you submit questions early to allow yourself the necessary time to cure any deficiencies with your plan. You are encouraged to start working on your plan right away to give yourself plenty of time. The HSP Q&A is posted on the TLC website and the ESBD, which will be a rolling document, so be sure to check the date posted. We will review drafts of your HSP to identify deficiencies and to provide feedback. However, we will not state whether your draft has passed or failed. We will provide one-on-one workshops upon request. These may be conducted via Zoom, Teams, or a telephone conference call. As per section 2.1 of the RFP, please forward all questions or requests to Anita. The last day to review any draft HSPs for deficiencies and one-on-one workshops is listed in section 1.4 of the RFP. Again, we strongly encourage you to take full advantage of all the available resources to assist you with your HSP submission. Once you submit your HSP with a proposal, there is no opportunity to cure. Please consult the schedule of events and make sure that you know which dates are critical in terms of preparing and submitting the HSP. In closing, I'll remind you again, if you're not the person responsible for completing the HSP, please pass this information to them, as well as let them know that today's pre-proposal conference will be available for view on the agency website. Please submit questions regarding the HSP after this conference in writing, and they will be answered and posted on the agency website and the ESBD. HSP questions can be submitted up until the deadline for proposals, which is listed in section 1.4 of the RFP. Are there any questions to part 5 of the RFP?
Hi, Eric. I do not see any new questions or questions on the HSP at this time.
Okay, thank you, Angela. And with that, I'll pass it back to Juanita.
Thank you, Eric. So we'll start with Part 6, Scope of Services. Part 6 requires a section-by-section response. I will not be going into detail on this section. This is your opportunity to tell us how you will perform the services described in each section. It's not enough to say you can do something. Tell us how you'll do it. Provide examples and techniques that you've used for success. Proposers need to demonstrate their abilities to do the work requested. Are there any questions on Part 6?
Juanita, there are no new questions at this time.
Okay, we are towards the end of our conference. Please submit any questions in the Q&A feature, or you can submit your question in accordance to the scheduled events. Here are some final reminders. All scope of service questions must be submitted in writing via email to me by the deadline of the scheduled events. Scope of service questions that are not submitted in writing by the time and date specified will not be answered. If you have a question on the RFP process, you can contact me and I'll be able to respond. Generally, this is the case for all sections except Part 6, but don't hesitate to ask. Make notes of all dates in the scheduled events. Proposers are responsible for checking the ESBD and TLC website for any and all notices, amendments, and Q&A regarding this RFP. We will not directly email these to you. Prior to submission of your proposal, please review the entire RFP carefully to ensure that you submit all required information and/or documentation. The pre-proposal conference video will be available on the websites later today or tomorrow. Are there any final questions before we go?
There are no questions in the box, Juanita.
Thank you, Angela. This concludes our conference. Thanks again for your attendance and have a good day.